The 2023 NBA draft is primed to be one of the best in years. We've got a clear superstar and a constellation of guys with their own star potential. Heck, even the guys down later in the lottery seem like they could be instant contributors to some of these young teams. So let's break it down today on just how we think the top 10 is going to shake out. The San Antonio Spurs are starting to give off main character energy when looking at the modern NBA as a whole. They got Hall of Famer David Robinson with the first overall pick in 1987. Then, a decade later, they drafted the next Hall of Fame big man, Tim Duncan. And after multiple championships, they did a quick rebuild in the 2020s to land their next Hall of Fame big man, Victor Wembanyama. If you're watching this, I'm suspecting you've already heard a lot about Victor. So let's take more of a look at what the Spurs could look like next season as a unit. Wemby's length on defense and agility on offense could allow him to be one of the deadliest big men in the game by the end of his rookie season. And do not be surprised if San Antonio makes a move for a true big that allows Vic to party as a 7'5" power forward. Wembanyama has elevated this team to play-in contenders before he's even put on their jersey. The second and third picks in this year's draft are honestly a toss-up in my eyes. The Hornets already have a future star at the point in LaMelo Ball, but can you pass up the passionate ceiling of Scoot Henderson? Maybe you say yes, you'd rather go for Starfit and take Brandon Miller, but not me. I've watched too many Scoot highlights and interviews not to believe that this guy's got what it takes to become an all-NBA type guard. So, with that being said, with the second overall pick, I'm taking the 6'2" point guard from the G League. Henderson has a motor unlike anyone else in this draft. He models his dedication to the game after idols like Russell Westbrook. And you can see flashes of the same athleticism after averaging 16.5 points and 6.5 assists as a 19-year-old in a league of adults. Scoot and LaMelo might both seem like players that need the ball in their hands. But I think with LaMelo's perimeter shooting and Scoot's powerful drives inside, they can coexist and make the next offensive powerhouse in the backcourt. And after that pick, that means with the third pick, the Portland Trail Blazers take Brandon Miller. Or do they? Because the Blazers are talking like they still want to win right now while Damian Lillard is still at his apex. Miller is a strong wing at 6'9" and 200 pounds. He can do a bit of everything on offense, but his main strength is his shot from deep. Could this 20-year-old really be the running mate to see Dame win a ring? There's no way. So I think, in all likelihood, we see Portland trade the pick for a star, meaning Miller might be shocked to hear he's actually going to a place like Indiana or Washington. Alright, now this is where the draft really gets interesting. Wemby, Scoot, and Miller are the consensus best three options. But in the next 4 through 10 range, things start to get murky. A team like Houston, who was hoping to be one of the big three, ended up falling just outside. They have key building blocks in Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun, and Terry Eason. Outside of that, though, they're a pretty clean slate. And that clean slate has some pretty glaring weaknesses. The two most notable are reliable playmaking and defense, two things that overtime elite player Amen Thompson could help with perfectly. Amen has spent most of his time pre-draft being seen as second fiddle to twin Asar Thompson, but lately, scouts have begun taking notice of his superior playmaking and dedicated defense every play. Amen could steady this youth-filled rocket cast on both ends of the court, as the youngest guy on the roster. With the worst case scenario possible, the Detroit Pistons have the 5th overall pick. They tanked so hard, like the worst record out of all 30 teams, but here they are at number 5. Detroit has guards that need development priority in Caden Ivey, plus the revival of Killian Hayes. And there's a bit of a logjam down low with Duren, Wiseman, Bagley, and Stewart. So the Pistons are realistically looking for a reliable forward that can do a bit of everything, which would include shooting. Sorry, Azar, but you're not going right after your brother. Instead, we see UCF's 6'8" forward who shot 39% from deep, Taylor Hendricks. This might feel like a stretch to a lot of people, but Hendricks has been on the rise in a lot of scouts' rankings. He's got a fantastic mix of speed and strength that can allow him to thrive in multiple positions at the NBA level. He's also a locked-in defender, whether it's on the perimeter or down low with some smaller big men. If I'm Detroit, I see this as the Kings' Keegan Murray pick from last year. It might not be the flashiest name, but it's the guy that will slide in and contribute immediately. Now, by the time Orlando gets to select at number 6, I think you can't pass on the upside of Asar Thompson. Yes, the Magic stunk from beyond the arc last season, as Asar won't help with that. But him and his brother have been said to be breaking down their shots and building it from the ground up. So, Can Orlando take the upside pick here and look for a shooter at number 11? That would be a win for the kind of athlete this kid will become. Azar can be that explosive wing, with the shot making of Paulo and Franz. He's got a high IQ that translates to timely cuts, as well as keeping the ball moving on offense. Azar was a consistent scorer and overtime elite, but it wasn't because of an abundance of ISO plays. He knows how to be a team player. Then, if the shots start to fall, he could make the Magic a scary team in the years to come. Next up, we have the Indiana Pacers, a team that has an overabundance of young guard play with Tyrese Halliburton, Benedict Mathurin, Andrew Nembhard, and Aaron Nesmith. But after the Sabonis trade, their front court is looking a little light. Did anyone even realize the vet James Johnson was a Pacer this year? At number 7, we would see Indiana bulk up with power forward Jarris Walker, a 6'7", 250-pound bowling ball rolling into the paint. Walker looks like the next guy up for the label of football player that walked onto a basketball court, because this guy is built. The 20-year-old is able to use that frame to anchor Indiana's defense, but still be quick enough to get stretched out guarding perimeter bigs. An Indiana defensive duo of Miles Turner and Jarris Walker could make most players think twice about going for a layup. The Washington Wizards are a team I would not be surprised to see trying to move up from number 8. They need either some exciting youth for rebuilding or instant contributors to help with this Bradley Beal era. If they can't manage to move up because of a lack of assets, they should take Cam Whitmore here. The Villanova wing seems to be everywhere in the draft depending on whose board you look at. What I admire about his game is his innate understanding of how to use that 6'6", 235-pound frame. Whitmore can be silently hunting for a sneaky cut or offensive board until out of nowhere and boom, he gets a quick slam right over the defender's head. His biggest fans see a guy who has a super high ceiling. Despite his struggles shooting from both deep and from the free throw line, I don't see how the Wizards can pass up on that kind of potential. At number 9, we see Anthony Black go to the Utah Jazz. The Jazz were the most unlikely team to at one point be on pace for home court advantage in the playoffs. This was meant to be a franchise blowing it up after trading their superstars, not battling for playoff positioning with new superstar Lauri Markkanen. Eventually, though, they did end up bottoming out, and Anthony Black is a great prize to still end up receiving after such a fun season. The point guard from Arkansas is a tall point guard at 6'6", and he uses that height to see the floor from a bird's eye view. He has a great floor general mentality that isn't worried about getting his own points as much as setting up his teammates to get easy buckets. Utah could pair him nicely in the pick and roll with both Lowry and Kessler, as well as being able to defend the perimeter while out there with guys like Jordan Clarkson or Colin Sexton. And now last, but certainly not least, we have the Dallas Mavericks at 10. They could go a lot of different ways with this pick. For starters, I think it's safe to say they're trying to compete right now like Portland is, so they'll probably look to trade it. But if they don't find a great package and end up selecting a prospect, may I introduce you to Grady Dick. This sharpshooter from Kansas could be the perfect running mate in the backcourt for Luka to kick out dimes to. He shot 40% from deep at almost 6 attempts a game. He isn't the most athletic prospect out there and can't create much off of his own dribble or shut down other guards on defense. But the Mavericks need guys who can make shots. And there's a potential that Grady could grow into a deadly three-point roamer like a Desmond Bane or Klay Thompson. And I think Luka will say it was worth keeping the pick. And there you have it, folks, our 2023 mock draft. Let us know in the comments if you think we have someone too high or too low. Or if there's someone missing completely that you think someone might be taken in the top 10. I look forward to seeing what you have to say. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.